Good evening to you, Chris. Theresa May there saying that people are now fearful of globalisation. What does she mean by that, do you think? I mean, what should people be afraid of?
I think globalisation is a double-edged sword. I mean, on the one hand, globalisation has seen, a downward spiral in prices in the last, 10 or 15 years. We can all buy things on the internet cheaper if we get them from China or, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other hand, I mean, this is having a serious impact on real wages because people are really being put out of work in their own countries by the fact that there's this ultra competitiveness brought on by globalisation. So they're the people who are fearful. And incidentally, they're the people who voted for, Brexit and for Trump.
Well, I mean, it's the topic, isn't it, at Davos at the moment? A lot of people have been talking about this for years and years, as far as I'm aware, apart from the leaders of the countries. Why do you think they're only talking about it now? How come they didn't see it coming?
They're out of touch, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the simple answer, as harsh as it may sound. I do believe they're out of touch. Now we've had some big political upheavals in 2016 with the aforementioned Brexit and with Trump being elected. I mean, they're now having to listen because it's their jobs, if you like, that are on the line.
She also had a pop, didn't she, at global companies saying that they play by a different set of rules and may threaten the wealth of ordinary people. You mentioned the issue of wages there, but I mean, how else? Because you look at perhaps like Bill Gates, the people who are in charge of huge companies, and many people will say, well, look, they've generated huge amounts of wealth, haven't they? That's of benefit to us all, pretty much.
It should be. I mean, there is so much more, if you're going to talk about the economics and the financial market sort of situation with regards to this, I mean, the other thing you've really got to consider here is the fact that, much of the Western world has been on a path of quantitative easing, zero interest rates for the last 5 or 7 years, since 2008. And effectively, that's driven up the prices of assets. And it's the people who hold the assets, i.e. shares and property and city property that have benefited greatly from what has happened, globalization, financial market moves. But the vast majority of people are not seeing a trickle-down effect. So, this is where the problem really lies.
OK, we heard people highlighting the problem. What's the solution?
Well, I think, and hopefully, we're going to see people like Trump start to put in place the solution. I mean, for example, in the financial markets, it would be to stop manipulating financial markets and to let financial markets discover prices as they have done for the last 1,000 years, i.e. without government interference. And that if that means if interest rates have to go up and markets come down, then so be it. As far as the globalization and the effects on real wages, I mean, unfortunately, I think the sort of seizing up of the globalization process at the moment, where you're seeing people become a bit more nationalistic, is not necessarily the answer, but it's certainly going to be a rocky road involving those sort of processes.
Sure, it will do. Chris, thanks very much for explaining things simply to us. That was Chris Clarke, economic analyst and financial markets trader. Thank you.
Thanks.